Hey,
Hi, everybody.
Supposed to be.
We're live.
There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's ThingCast. My name is Dominic Wallace, and I'm joined today by the ever. Oh, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. There we go. I'm joined by the ever amazing producer and co writer Josh Weiss, the writer director Ian Nathan, and our very special guest for today, Peter Maloney, Bennings himself. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's ThingCast.
hello.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, I would like to pass things over to Ian and Josh to give a brief update as to how the Thing Expanded is going.
Yes, I suppose it's important to reiterate that we are still in production. This isn't sort of at the end of things. We did a wonderful interview with Peter before Christmas in Manchester, and it was terrific. It's going really well. We've got a real momentum. I think I would say we're probably around about halfway through. I'm going to put a hard and fast answer on that, but about halfway through. And
Give or take.
we've done most of the cast. And what's extraordinary to me is I thought I knew this story. You know, you do all your research, you read the books, you watch the film, you watch the documentaries that have already been made, and I do not know this story at all. That's what I found out. There's so much detail and so much richness, so many different opinions. So it's been fantastic. It's that thing where you sit midway through an interview and you hear something, you just go, that's going in. That's so going in. That's so good. And Peter gave me a lot of those wonderful stories. So I am thrilled with how it's going. Josh, what do you feel?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, I don't want to give anything away. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear
Oh,
you perfectly
okay.
fine.
Some weird ringing in my ears. Yeah, I there's stuff coming up. I can't say more than that. Don't want to spoil surprises. But yeah, like Ian said, we're about halfway through, and it's just it's been a delight. That's really all I can say.
Absolutely. And Peter especially, he gave me a wonderful interview. So I think we should move on to Peter now, who can give us
Yes.
his wisdom and stories.
Absolutely. We do have a great many questions that the fans of our project have sent in specifically for you, Peter.
All right.
Uh, let's have a look at some of them. So I didn't have this pre
Let me ask
Yeah,
you,
I
format.
mean, maybe yeah.
Peter. I'm going to, because we were talking a bit off stage about your
Yeah.
death scene. Everyone remembers your incredible death scene. And you were telling us how cold it was when you shot that with the kind of fantastic alien hands and that incredible roar you give. What are your memories of that scene in particular?
Well, my memory is, of course, as an actor, I was involved in the what was happening at the moment, and what I remember as an actor who's far away from the project now, I remember the cold. The cold was unbelievable. You know, we had been working for 6 months on sets in the valley in Hollywood, and it was 110 degrees hot outside, and inside we were about 36 degrees. But we cooled down the set, the sound stage, with hundreds of air conditioners running constantly. So we were constantly getting colds, going back and forth in costume to the commissary or wherever when we left the soundstage. And then here we were at the end of the shoot, going into the real cold, which was on a glacier south of Juneau, Alaska. And we were up on a mountainside on a glacier. And when we did my scene, my death scene, um, it was 30 degrees below zero. With the wind chill, it was 103 degrees below zero. I had an open coat, no shirt on underneath. I had just had that goop on me, that cold, freezing cold gel, which they poured over you whenever they wanted to uh, show you with tentacles wrapped around, you know. say, oh, yes, the thing has been here and this is the result. So I run outside with my monster arms and I'm running through the snow. I trip, I fall down. All my friends come around me, and Kurt Russell is behind me, uh, and they have to do something about it. Well, they have to kill me, is what they have to do, because they know that I've been taken over by the thing, and I don't want to die. And the expression on my face and the sound that I make at the time is an expression of that desire not to be killed by my dear friends. And they don't care, rightly so. They have to save themselves. So there I was in the cold. And John said to me, look, Peter, this is really, really cold. You are in charge here. If you get too cold, you want to come back inside. If it gets too uncomfortable, just say the word and we will go back in and warm up. I don't think we ever got to that point where we did that, but it was truly uncomfortable. I mean, it was, and it was dangerous. Not at that moment for me, but I mean, being there in the wild, it was dangerous for us.
Absolutely.
Right. And you did
On the,
there were hand warmers in the fake hands, if I recall correctly, right?
There what?
You had hand warmers inside the
Yes,
fake.
inside those monster arms, I had those Japanese devices which you just crack them and they start emitting heat. So I had one in each hand. Um, that helped me. It was, but I truly felt as an actor, I felt a true sense of loss in that everyone was turning against me. So there was part.
absolutely.
Yes, then that means that there was part of me, Bennings, still present in the creature. So half of me was the thing, and half of me was still Bennings. The question of when you were the monster and when you were not is perhaps a question that's still unresolved after a lot of discussion.
Absolutely. We do have a question from a live question from Gregory Sharp, who's here, asking how many takes was it did it take to get that very iconic shot?
Um, I think not so many because we just didn't didn't
Didn't
want to
want to
be
do it
out
again.
there. You know, we didn't want to be out there, and I gave as good a performance each time as I could. Uh, the problem is that you know in that kind uh, of a shot, which is actually uh, a blend of present Maloney acting up there and some technology with uh,
Mhm.
the burning creature. Um, you have to, if you want to go back and do it again, you've got a lot of cleaning up to do.
I was
You
about
know,
to say, resetting
yeah,
that shot must have been a pain.
yeah. So I don't believe we did too much. I think they liked what I did and said, "Okay, let's take a break and go have something to eat or something." I
It's
don't
one
know.
hell of a scene. It like I told you before we went live, it drew me into the movie. Yeah, like that scene alone was haunting. It was
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
it's a favorite
On the
one.
note of Yeah, on the note of that scene, I have a question from backer Tim Lowe, who is asking: is it true that your original death in the film wasn't actually that scene at all, but it was originally involving a screwdriver to the neck by an unknown killer next to the kennels?
That was the second death. There were
Oh,
there were three deaths of Bennings. One was written originally in the script, Bill Lancaster's script, where uh, I get onto a thiacol or a snowmobile, as you would call it, and I escape the camp and I get away from the compound, and suddenly the uh, ice opens up and these monster arms reach up and pull me and the snowmobile down underneath the permafrost on the
oof.
glacier. So this was had not been shot yet, and then John said, "Peter, we aren't going to kill you that way. We got another way to do it." So we shot a second death, and that second death involved me watching through the uh, wire fencing where the dogs are kept as
Mhm.
the dogs are transforming. Now, you remember from that scene from the movie. I mean, these are incredible special effects. This was all hand done, no CG, and it was all a kind of wonderful puppetry created by uh, Rob Bottin, that young genius, who I think was 21 at the time. And so I'm watching the dog transform. Now you have to understand that every time we react to the monster itself, and we're staring into the cage where we're imagining that. That's acting.
Mhm.
That is all acting because there's nothing there. That's going to be done later after we're back on the East Coast. Those of us who lived on the East Coast. So there we are imagining. Anyway, I'm imagining seeing these dogs transforming, and I push the button on the intercom, and McCready, Kurt Russell, answers, and I say, "Mac, it's Bennings. You got to come down here. You got to see this. This is unbelievable. These dogs are they're I don't know how to say it. They're transforming. They're becoming something else. My God, they're becoming people." And he says, "Bennings, do they resemble anybody we know?" And at that time, the camera is shooting here on my left, and down the hall on my right, I don't see it because I'm so transfixed by the transforming dogs. Through the door comes a man wearing a face mask, a ski mask. He's
Mhm.
got all of the army duds on, and he's got a ski mask over his face. I don't notice this guy approaching me. He comes up behind me, takes a barbed wire garrote, and puts it over my head and pulls it tight and strangles me with the garrote. Then he holds that with one hand, me off the ground up. He's a big guy, and he takes a large screwdriver about this long out of his pocket, and he forces the screwdriver into my right ear,
Oof.
all the way, all the way into my brain. Then he rips the chain link fence open and throws my body over it and hangs me up there and leaves me there. So we shot this. This was very painful. This death made the final death that they used like a walk in the park. This one was really painful. I mean, it was hard to do. It took us
Here's the $1 million question then. Which death scene would you have preferred to be in the movie?
well, it was almost that, uh, but you know, I wasn't one of the writers. I wasn't one of the creators, and I wasn't one of the ones who had to say, "Well, gee, how is this going to work on an audience?" That's what John
Mm.
and Bill Lancaster and David Foster, the producer and one of the producers, this is what they had to see in the dailies and discuss. So when we got up to the glacier, John said to me, "Peter, we're going to have to kill you again because we don't think that this can work. This one that we shot in place of the exterior. The reason they didn't want me to get away on the snowmobile is John didn't want anyone to be able to get out of that compound. He didn't want there to be any way that we could escape. We were
Mhm.
prisoners there, locked together in this terrible circumstance, and so." But when they saw the second death scene with the barbed wire garrote and the screwdriver, uh, the question for them was, well, now, if this there's only one reason why this creature, this person, who is obviously the thing, would put a ski mask on before killing you. That is so that the audience doesn't know who it is.
Yeah. It
And
becomes more of a slasher
John,
movie at that point.
John, as a storyteller, creating the story really with Bill, because John is such a great storyteller, he said the only reason is so the audience doesn't know, and that is cheating. That is
Absolutely.
cheating.
It seems
He had,
our
he had just
Because
come
guests.
off.
you want to cover up, So,
Right.
so that was Death 2 in the garbage garbage can. There was one photograph of it,
Yeah.
which is in that British Film Institute volume, a small little book, The Thing, where you can see it in color. It's very nice. I have several copies of that. But so we're on to the final one, which is the one that everybody sees.
Brilliant.
And it seems our chat is in agreement that that is the best of the three outcomes. They all
I think
believe that
so. Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah. People stop me on the street almost half a century later and say, "Oh man, you were in The Thing. Do that. Do that. Death. Do that." They want me
brilliant.
to do it on the street. I do it on the street. I don't care. I'll do it on the subway.
Well,
That's
we have a
incredible.
few backers as well and live questions I've seen asking what was the makeup process like and how long did it take to apply the effects for that death scene in particular?
For which one? The last one? The one we see?
Yeah, with your claw hand.
Um, I, that didn't take too long because it wasn't. It was far from precise. I mean, I just had to put my arms in the rubber arms or whatever they were made of, and find my sticks that I crack and hold in my, and then they just poured. They just opened my shirt to my bare chest and just poured this stuff on me in the cold.
It's
We
another
went.
reason why you didn't want to
We
do
went.
multiple takes.
Listen, we got up there to this beautiful set, which is the compound, which was built on the glacier in June, and then we waited for the snow to fall. So by the time we got up there, the beginning of December, it would be covered with snow. So that all went fine. But when we got up there for the first time as a company, we went in and where it was warm, and they turned on the heat, and there we were, and they said, "Turn off the heat, turn off the heat. We cannot have the heat on ever because it melts the snow and destroys the look." So we were there without any warmth, and they brought smallish canisters with an element on the top. They were full of propane, and the element got red, got orange, and then irradiated some heat. We sat around them like this, in a small circle. But I got off. I tend to do that. What was I talking about?
Just
You
the
were just doing
costume
great.
application, but something I was going to ask, and I see it in the chat, was when Windows finds you in the storeroom getting taken over, was that a dummy or was that you?
No, that was me. Yeah. And so,
Oh, I'm
is
so
that? Oh, I
sorry.
knew you're talking about makeup, and this did not allow. And they just poured this stuff on me, all over me, you know. And we always did it with the sculptures that Rob Bottin made were so beautiful, ghastly but beautiful. And then to give them some motion and some life as they melted. I mean, don't forget we brought them down from the Norwegian camp. Uh, they poured this stuff all over those sculptures so that you would see the 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 goo coming out from underneath the blanket, which was uh, covering the dead creature. So it was not precise at all. It was just cold and messy and uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, from the angle of uncomfortableness, let's move to a more happier time. We have Dr. Andy is asking, what is your favorite memory from filming The Thing? And while I've got everyone's attention, if you the backers who are watching, if you would like to take screenshots of this, feel free to share it on the social medias and tag us at The Thing Expanded. We'd love to see how many of you are tuning in, because we love doing these things with you. But yes, sorry, back to you, Peter. What was your favorite experience in filming The Thing?
I'm telling you, this was the greatest job I had ever had in my actor's life until then. In fact, maybe it's never been surpassed, because don't forget, it was 6 months work. Now, for an actor to work for 6 months on a movie, I mean, it was heavenly, and it was on the lot for 5 of those months, and it was thrilling to be on the lot every day. I mean, I was the happiest actor in the world, or one of 12 of the happiest actors in the world. It was fantastic to be there, to be actually on the lot. And then once we got into the work, it was to work with John was beyond special. I mean, he was a fighter, and he wanted this movie to be made the way he wanted it. He wanted his staff, he wanted his crowd, his cinematographer. I think Dean Cundy was a union cinematographer for the first time on this film. I think so, and I think John had to, as I remember it, fight to have him on the film, because the old timers, the veterans, didn't want a young Turk to be a cinematographer. They have their ways to do things, and John knew that his guys, who had worked with him, would work with him well. So uh, every day was an amazement, and working with these guys. We had to learn how to get out of and into a helicopter. We had to have practice sessions regularly. We had to learn how to use a flamethrower, how to set a building on fire. If we weren't actually wielding the flamethrower, we had to learn how to put the damn fire out that we had created. Nobody asked me if I was afraid of dogs, and I was afraid of dogs. I was bitten as a child, as a young man, while delivering dry cleaning for my uncle. I was attacked and bitten by a dog, and had to have rabies shots and everything like that. I did not want a dog. I didn't have a dog. I didn't want one. Uh, and here I am, supposed to get close to these dogs. And Clint Rowe was the dog trainer. So I had to work every day with this dog, Jet, to do the opening scene where I become infected. If you analyze the film, uh, I think I am the first person to be infected, but nobody knows it yet, because that dog comes running to me, wounded. Have I been shot yet? Maybe I am wounded too, but anyway, that dog comes and jumps on me and puts its forepaws on my shoulders and is taller than I am. And
Huskies are not small dogs.
it's hitting me in the face over and over. And I didn't expect that. I didn't realize it was going to happen, and I didn't want it to happen because I was scared. So, but I learned over those 2 weeks how to be not how to be there, but not be scared of the dog. So that was an extremely exciting experience. Um, I don't know. It's hard to pick a moment,
Understandably.
Yeah, Peter, I
Although
have an important question, real quick. Were you hyderized?
Oh, was I hyderized? Of course I was hyderized. Now, David Mamet has made that famous, because he made a movie up there in Hyder, Alaska. And he wrote about it in one of his books of non-dramatic work, in his prose work, and before us. And yes, we were hyderized. We went into this after the first day. We were so happy to have our first day under our belts, and we came down from the freezing mountain. Now up this mountain, it was only 25 miles from the motel, but it took an hour and a half to get there because we had to go so slowly up this mountain, which had no guardrails, up and up and up, winding, no guardrails. If the snow came down, wow, it would come and we couldn't see anything but white. We had to have one of our people walk by the side of the slowly moving bus on the edge of the mountain so that the driver would see a person there and know how, don't go any further to your left, or you'll fall off the mountain with all the other guys. So it was exciting, even just getting to work. And uh, oh yeah, so anyway, we finished the first day, and you had to go from Stewart, British Columbia, through Hyder, Alaska, very briefly, maybe no longer than 4 minutes on the bus, and then you were in British Columbia again, heading for the glacier. And they hated, they wore guns up there freely, and they didn't like having to come through the customs booth, both going up and coming back. So they blew up with dynamite the customs booth. So there was no customs booth. And the police apparently would not go into Hyder, Alaska. Don't blame them. And so we came down off the mountain and on the bus, and we said, well, let's go to the bar and have a drink. Okay, let's go. So there we were, still wearing our movie costumes, which were merely army fatigues, army issue fatigues, and we all went into the bar. And there was a bar full of guys wearing guns and drinking. And the bartender, whose name was Barfly, said, we have the movie stars are here. Come on in, you've got to get hyderized. So he takes a bottle of Everclear and he pours it all over the bar, the top of the bar. He just pours it onto the bar. And then he lights a match. And the whole bar, like I felt like I was in something written by Dante, one of the circles. I didn't know what the heck. And these flames, blue flames are coming up, and he puts his hands in the flames, raises them, and looks at us like this. And his hands are on fire, blue fire, and flames rising up from his fingers. Then he says, you each get a free shot of this. And he pours us a shot of the Everclear, then a beer for a chaser. And he said, now you're going to get hyderized. Here's to you. And so we say, here's to you. And so we drink it all down. Well, they hyderized us all right. And it got a little bit scary there. It was not, but let's put it this way. It was not the most racially sensitive community on the continent. It was very scary, I must say, for me anyway. I'd never seen anything like it before. Our two black actors, T.K. Carter and Keith, were right at that moment, the first day in, were subjected to some very unfriendly and frightening and tension-making words and actions. Yeah, it was. We were hyderized. Oh yeah, yeah.
Getting to the set must have been quite a warm welcome for them, I imagine, if you're escaping literally the inferno.
Well, but it was incredibly beautiful too. I mean, an hour and a half to go 25 miles, and going up the first time, I counted 21 bald eagles.
Wow.
by the side of the river, fishing for salmon in the river that we were above. It was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
That sounds incredible. We do
Can
have
I
a
ask
few
let
questions.
me, let me
Sorry.
ask a question just before you get in there,
Yeah.
Dom. Yeah, the camaraderie is astonishing, really. If you watch the film, you sense these guys have been together for a long time in the research station. Was that echo behind the scenes? Did you feel like a group of people who weren't just actors on a film? You were in this together. You were in Alaska. You were on these sets in LA. Was it had great camaraderie between you?
There was great camaraderie, I felt, and I credit it to John Carpenter, who I think understood from the beginning that he wanted an interesting bunch of guys, uh, talented, but quite different one from each other, and he wanted us to be a part of an organism. We were fighting a certain kind of organism, and we were another kind of organism. I don't remember him ever saying this, but I think this is what happened. Don't forget, he insisted and fought Universal to give him 2 weeks rehearsal with no shooting. The actors with a blackboard, a piece of chalk, and a big long table and chairs. And that's it in the empty soundstage. And we were there every day, full days, for 2 weeks as we read the script, discussed the script, asked questions of the script, the writer, the director, and each other, and made our own contributions in terms of our individual research to each other. So the bonding started from day one. The first thing that they had us do was to go into a screening room on the Universal lot, and they showed us the original Thing from Another World, which was produced, supervised by Howard Hawks, and scared the heck out of me when I was a boy, And so, uh, and that was wonderful to see where we were going and how it would be different from this. That was what was possible back in the day. They didn't have technology that we have now. And so you didn't see uh, the kind of fantastic imagery that one can create now with computers. But John and company did not plan to use any of that stuff anyway. Um, but they showed us that, and that was where it started. Being. I remember walking with John and somebody else around the lot at Universal, and there would be uh, these huge sound stages with the doors wide open because the workmen were inside creating uh, sets for either us or other filmmakers, and there was our set where after after the blood test and the couch, the famous
Yes.
couch,
Yeah.
uh, where David Clennan's character reaches his end, and I think Tommy Waits reaches his end there too. Um, David's character was supposed to, his head splits open, doesn't it, and picks Tommy up by the head and
Yeah.
shakes him like a rag doll, and he dies by fire in the corner of the room. Terrible, terrible death. And David's character then was supposed to, his back was supposed to open up, and he was go up to the ceiling and crawl across the top like a spider uh, on his back. And of course, they on another soundstage they had our set, the rec room there, and it was mounted on a turning thing that would also hold the camera, so that the whole set would turn like this and do that thing, like when Fred Astaire in that movie,
Yeah.
It dances across the ceiling and all that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Going to do. So that was what we were going to do, and then somebody said, "Oh yeah, Spielberg's going to do that in Poltergeist," which he was shooting at the time, and John said, "Oh, that we won't do that then." So
Darn.
whatever money they invested in that elaborate moment of Glennon's character going across the ceiling, it went unused, and you know, but the bonding did continue. It did, and we were a bunch of different guys. Brimley's character, Bill Brimley's was a real character, and he lived, I think, in Utah, and bragged about how they have a death penalty there, and he has signed up to pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. And those of us who came from New York and were of, let us say, a more liberal bent,
Yeah.
he rejoiced in raving about the great Joe McCarthy, who ran the Army McCarthy hearings,
Mm.
and dug out all the lefties, as he looked at me and Joel Polis. And he never gave an indication that he was pulling our legs either. He was kind of serious about it. He was a great guy. They all were great guys. I'm telling you. Yeah, it was. So it's to go back to the question that was asked half an hour ago, if not longer. It's hard to pick a favorite moment. I don't think I've ever thought of the film in that way.
That's probably
And
the
I
best
feel
way
like
to look at it.
Yeah.
we have to talk about your famous line, turn that crap down. I got shot today.
Oh yeah.
What was that in the script originally?
Oh yeah. It was in the script. Um, yeah. Yeah, it was in the script, and I remember my agent at the time, Joan Scott, said she hated the movie. She hated the movie. She didn't mind telling me right to my face, but she said, "You got the biggest laugh in the movie."
Oh, absolutely.
And when I said that line, I said, "Oh, okay, yeah." I didn't mean it to be funny, but yeah.
I believe it was a well-placed bit of barely humorous, but it was humorous enough given the situation that it just snapped a chord, and it just encourages a chuckle out of you because you need to laugh sometimes when everything is very dreary.
Oh yeah,
But
I agree.
going very far back to like before casting, we've had a load of questions live and a question come in from Roy from Idaho. I'm not sure if from Idaho is his surname or not, but they've all asked about casting and how is it you found yourself being cast as Bennings? Did you go specifically for this role, or did you go for another role and just found yourself in Bennings? Can you walk us through the casting process?
For myself, I can. Yes, I mean, I'm a character actor, which means that I usually get parts which are about 2 pages long, which means that I'm not going to get much in terms of residuals. I mean, this is my whole life. I'm a character actor, and I do small parts, and it's been a great life. I've done over 70 films, and I love it. I sometimes wish I had more to do, or sometimes I wish I had that other part to do instead of the one I'm doing. But most of the time, I'm happy, and happy to be a working actor. So when I got the call, I knew I had to go on a horror film. Now I'd had one horror film which I was in, which just wasn't the happiest experience of my life, and so I didn't have any great expectations. I went up to the the Universal building, which I think was in the Coca-Cola building on Fifth Avenue, and went in and up, and there were these guys sitting there, a whole bunch of guys, and I signed in, and they were taking groups into the room, and that office, those offices were like British. It was like being in a British library. The walnut paneled walls with golden framed scenes of fox hunts in England, yeah. And there we were with John Carpenter and David Foster, the producer. And so the group of us, I don't think there was a script to read. I didn't, and I don't remember reading for a character. John, as I remember it, John took a group of men and set up a situation. You're in a freezing cold, deadly environment. There's something that wants to get you 7 guys, or however many people he had brought into the room, and you're going to fight to come out of it alive and get rid of the ones that are getting you. And you're going to help each other out through this. So that's what we did. We took this fine, beautiful oak furniture, and we just took it, tipped it over, used it as a shield, hid behind it, threw fake grenades over the top of it. We made sounds like boys, like little boys playing war, really, is what it was like. And I can remember being born soon after the end of World War II, playing war like that. And there we were doing it for John. And after it was over, the improv, whatever, he said, "Well, thank you very much, Peter. Let's talk about this." So anyway, I sat, picked up one of the chairs, stood it upright, and sat down, and they talked to me. And they said, "How would you like being in a place for 6 months, the most uncomfortable place in the world, making a movie?" And I said, I've done so many films. I don't know how many I made at that time. Certainly not as, half as many as I've made totally in my life. But I said I've made this number of films. I've never had a bad experience on a film. I love the movie business. And David Foster said, "What do you like about the movie business?" And I didn't expect anybody to grill me like that and ask me that kind of a question. I sort of was taken aback by it. And I said, finally, "The coffee." He started laughing. I said, "The coffee?" I said, "Yes, because no matter what's going on in the work, uh, there will always be a large urn of coffee, very, very hot, day or night, first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And I just love to sip coffee and sit around, and I'm never bored. I could be impatient if I'm told I'm going to be doing something and I end up sitting in my dressing room for a few hours. I can become impatient, but I bring lots of books and things to read. So I love it. I just love it. And so then I went away, and I thought, as you have to, if you've been doing it long enough, and I had been by that time, you don't hang on to these things and say, oh, you don't get all nervous about it. I put it out of my head. I try to put it out of my head, and I did pretty much put it out of my head. And then I was going to leave my agency for a certain reason. And one of the agents in the office who I particularly liked, a woman named Ginny Raymond, said, "Oh, don't leave, because we think that horror film that you went up for is going to come through."
Brilliant.
I said, "Oh, she's just telling me that, so I don't, so I just don't go to another agent." But in fact, she was telling me the truth, and the offer came in. And I knew that I'd have to go away for 6 months. I was teaching a playwriting class that my ex-wife had been doing in New York, and I had to say goodbye to my students there. There was no choice. I had no choice. I could not say no to this wonderful job. I just couldn't say no.
Absolutely. I had no idea that the filmmaking industry in my household had something in common, which is a perpetual pot of piping hot coffee. Uh, on the note of Bennings as a character, we've had a few questions, again, live and from backer Ian Mitchell, saying, was it a challenge to make Bennings distinct from the rest of the Outpost team? Did you have any ad libs or any input that you held on to firmly that made Bennings stand out, not just to you, but apart from everyone else? Because, like you said, it was a big ensemble cast filled with characters that are still beloved to this day. Like everyone has their favorites. But yeah, what about Bennings to you stood out from everyone else?
Well, I thought I needed something to stand out. I think I was wrong, but I went to John and I said, I want to. I had just fallen in love with a woman, and to mark this event, which was so important to me, I wanted to pierce my ear. It would be, you know, and so I did. My wife and I, my girlfriend and I went to an ear piercing place in New York, and we got my left ear pierced and a earring put in. And I said, so this was a huge thing for me to come from this Republican town up near Lake Ontario, near Rochester, New York. I mean, getting earrings was not done. So here I had this. I went to John and I said, I'd like to have. I got a chance to buy from one of the crew a diamond earring. He bought two, one for himself, and he wants to sell me the other one, and I want to wear it. And John looked at me with a smile and he shook his head. No, you cannot. So why? I say why. He says because Dr. Copper, Richard Dysart, is going to be pierced several places on his face, and now he probably got pierced because he crossed the equator. That's what men on the sea, when they cross the equator, they mark it with an earring. But and see, he may even have a nose ring. Now we want to not get too piercing about all this, so you can't have. So I didn't have it, and I think just my face was enough to separate me. Uh, I think I was wrong that I needed something like that, and of course Dysart didn't really need it either, but he got it. And then I remember talking about a happy moment, not connected really to the actual filming. Richard Dysart and I left our for a slight walk at night, left our motel rooms, and Richard was smoking weed, which he did all the time, and and I was not a smoker, but I was a smoker of cigarettes. Oh my God, Tom Waits almost killed me because he said, "Do you ever stop smoking?" And he's in the compound, and we're freezing to death around these little heaters, and he's trying to do his yoga or something, and he's got a mat there, and he's doing his exercises, and I am just puffing away. He just got furious with me. So I had to cool it where that was concerned. But I'm smoking a cigarette. Richard's smoking a joint, and we're walking in this beautiful pitch black night, freezing cold night with the stars like you never saw. And we're walking towards the mountain, and I'm hearing the snow under my feet, the squeakiness. It's that cold where the snow is squeaking as you walk towards the mountain. And I said, Richard, I'm going to get married. And he said, wonderful, wonderful, Peter. Wonderful. And I said, she doesn't know it, but I'm going to propose when I get back to my room. Because we were not allowed to have any girlfriends, boyfriends, or wives or husbands or lovers or anybody else but us. There was no room. We took every room in this motel and locked it up months before. So all the miners, for example, they usually stay there where there's several bars, and everything. They were furious with us. They hated us. They hated us. In fact, I think all the people up there hated us.
Damn Hollywood crowd coming in,
Yeah,
taking all of our hotel rooms.
yeah. And anyway, so I said, and then I got back and I proposed, and after on the third, yeah, it's funny, three tries, and we got my death right in the movie, and 3 times I proposed, and the third one was the charm and worked.
There you go.
And
Wow.
43 years later, we're still here.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Congratulations.
And as we're starting to wind down here, Peter, I just want to ask you, what can you remember from, obviously this film was not received well when it first opened. What can you remember? And at what point did you realize that the film had been reappraised by fans?
Well, I went to, I'm sure there was some kind of a celebration when they premiered it out in California, a premiere. Maybe they didn't have, maybe they knew what was going to happen. I had no idea. I came back, and of course, a lot of work, 6 months of work on the puppetry and the scary things that we are pretending to see with Rob. 6 more months without us. So I had plenty of things. I'm a director and a writer, so I might have had a couple of plays produced, and I'm sure I directed a couple of things. And I put it kind of out of my mind. And then suddenly it was opening in a big theater in New York. And so Kristen and I went to the opening, and my dear friend, a couple of dear friends. Well, we were about the only people there. And it was dismal. But the wonderful thing was, for me, it was the first time in many years that my name had appeared all alone on the screen at the end.
Yeah.
One by one, our names in big white letters in this big empty movie theater. Nobody but me and my friends got to see it. But there was my name as Bennings, all in white. That was thrilling, and we realized and learned about what had happened and the sad thing that happened to our film and to John particularly, and I felt really bad. But I'm not very good at staying in touch with people who directors who film me. I'm a bit timid about bothering them or checking in with them, or I'm not one to keep in touch. Like I haven't talked to you, Ian, and I'm sure it's bothered you since we started. Since we met at Manchester. Why hasn't Peter called to say what's happening?
I don't know. I've
Yeah.
been checking my messages
Yeah.
daily.
So
Peter,
anyway,
if it makes you feel better, I feel the same way about reaching out to you. I don't want to bother you. I'm very timid that way. So
yeah. So it was disaster for John for a while there. People are so obsessed by it, but then suddenly people are stopping me on the street, even though this is a flop of a movie, and stopping. This one guy in Port Authority, as I was going one place and he was going another, he had 2 little kids, one in each hand, maybe 5 years old. And oh my God, he says, you're in the movie. You're Bennings. Oh, kids, there's Bennings. Remember him? I said, you took your 5-year-olds to see our movie? He said,
Oh,
yeah, they loved it, didn't you, boys? Yeah, oh, we loved it. Looking up at me like this, And this happened. People stopped me on the subway, and I said, wow, somebody's seen the movie. Somebody likes it. And nothing has pleased me more than to see our film resurrected and loved by people, and they thank me for making it, and I thank them for keeping it alive. When I go to these signing events, I meet real fans of the film, real severe fans. I'm telling you, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a beloved
Tattooed
film.
people tattooed, are my face on people's arms
With the claw.
and other portions of their anatomy. I mean, it's really unbelievable.
Well, unfortunately we do have to wind things up. We've been talking for a little bit over an hour now. I would like to end things with a very.
All right, Dom.
Sorry, Josh. What was that?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that was the perfect way to close it out. People getting
Absolutely, yeah.
Peter's face tattooed on their bodies.
Yeah.
Yes. Other parts of their anatomy, hidden parts of their anatomy. So yes, we will bring things to a close. I would like to thank everyone for joining us, especially you, Peter,
Thank you.
for this amazing
Thank
ThingCast.
you.
We couldn't get through all of the questions. We could be here for literal hours. We have so many people asking things from your opinion on the film industry in general to what kind of books do you like to read when you bring them on set. So many questions. But Peter, if anyone would like to, do you have anything going on at the moment that you'd like to share with people? How they can keep up with you? Anything like that?
I'm retired, so I'm still the proud union member that I've always been since 1970. But I'm pretty much retired, and I'm doing my writing, and written 2 memoirs, which have been published, one in a magazine and one online, about my theater work, writing plays. And enjoying life in the country. This is our 10th year with animals and birds and our dog, our first dog. I love my dog. I'm not scared of my dog at all. And I love her. And I'm happy to watch my wife continue working. She's a great actress, and she's about to begin a new play in New York. I don't like to go into New York too much anymore. I go in 1 day a week, and I moderate at the Playwrights and Directors Unit at the Actors Studio. So, I'm pretty content, I mean, very content, and consider myself blessed to have had the long and interesting career that I've had.
It sounds heavenly. I'm honestly envious of your situation. That sounds divine.
It does.
Yes. And if you see Peter on the subway, remember, ask him to do the face.
Yes.
But I often get mistaken for others. I've been told, "Oh, I want to thank you for the greatest theater performance I've ever seen in my life," and I said, "Oh, thank you. That means so much. I'm glad you spoke to me. Thank you. Which performance was that?" And he says, the person says, "Inadmissible evidence," and I said, "Yes, that's not me."
Just take the credit. It's fine.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes, thank you,
so much,
everyone.
Peter.
Thank you, Peter. This was
Thank
amazing.
you very much. It's been a lot of fun.
It has.
It has
Yeah.
been tremendous.
Oh, good. Thanks. Now I'm going to be able to get this to my friends somehow. Am I be able to?
Oh, absolutely. We'll send you a
Yes.
link. Don't worry.
Yes.
But from
anyone
all
who
of
wants
us
to
here,
watch it after we'll get
Yeah.
you the link.
Yeah,
sorry,
good.
no,
Because
be
I
on-
want to be able to
gonna be
tell
on
my
YouTube.
family, my sister and brothers about it.
Definitely. Well,
So everyone from our team here at Creative EC and from Peter, we'd like to say goodbye for now. We'll catch you on the
Thank
next one.
Thank
Cheers,
you very
guys.
much. Thank
Goodbye,
you.
everybody.